My name is Emily Carter, and I just turned 31 last month. After years of saving every penny from my software engineering job, I finally bought my dream house. I spent weeks renovating it, making it perfect for the housewarming party where I hoped my family would finally acknowledge my success. I sent beautiful invitations 3 weeks in advance. But as the party time came and went, my living room remained empty. No one showed up. Then, scrolling through Instagram, I discovered the devastating truth. Before we dive into what happened next, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that subscribe button and stay with me as I share how I learned who my real family is. Growing up in Portland, Oregon, our modest 2-bedroom home always felt smaller than it was, not because of its actual size, but because of the outsized presence of my younger brother, Ethan. From the moment he was born, when I was 2 years old, the spotlight in our family shifted dramatically. My parents, Laura and Michael, were decent people with a blind spot the size of Oregon when it came to their children. Ethan could do no wrong, while I struggled to have my achievements acknowledged. When I brought home straight A's, my report card would be taped to the refrigerator for a day. When Ethan managed to pull a B-, my parents threw a celebration dinner and bought him a new video game. "Your brother just needs more encouragement," my mother would say whenever I questioned the disparity. "You were always so independent." Emily. Independent wasn't what I was aiming for at age 10. I wanted what every child wants: parental approval. But in our household, that resource was allocated primarily to Ethan. In high school, I threw myself into academics and extracurriculars. I became captain of the debate team, editor of the school newspaper, and graduated as valedictorian. My speech at graduation received a standing ovation from everyone except my family. My father checked his watch continuously while my mother recorded Ethan playing a game on his phone. Later, she apologized that they didn't get good footage of my speech because the lighting was bad. College followed the same pattern. I worked multiple jobs to put myself through school, eventually earning a scholarship that covered my junior and senior years. Meanwhile, my parents paid for Ethan's entire education despite his mediocre grades and tendency to switch majors every semester. "Your brother is finding himself," my mother explained when I questioned why he was on his 4th major in 3 years. "Not everyone knows exactly what they want, like you do." Emily. After graduating with honors in computer science, I landed a job at a prominent tech company in Portland. The starting salary was more than either of my parents had ever made. But when I shared the news, my mother's response was, "That's nice, honey. Did you hear Ethan is thinking about going back to school for psychology?" Over the years, I built a successful career despite the constant sting of familial indifference. I rose through the ranks, earned multiple promotions, and established myself as a respected senior software engineer, all while maintaining a small studio apartment to save money for my ultimate goal: owning my own home. Throughout these challenging years, one person remained consistently in my corner: my best friend, Sophia. We met during freshman orientation at college and bonded over our shared love of coding and science fiction. Unlike my family, Sophia celebrated every one of my achievements, no matter how small. "Your family doesn't define your worth," she would remind me during our regular coffee dates. "They're missing out on knowing how amazing you are." While I nodded in agreement, part of me still yearned for that parental validation. Deep down, I believed that if I achieved enough, became successful enough, my family would finally see me. 3 months ago, that opportunity seemed to arrive. After years of exceptional performance reviews, I received a substantial promotion to lead software architect. The salary increase finally put my dream of homeownership within reach. When I called my parents to share the news, my father answered, "That sounds great, honey," he said distractedly. "Can I call you back? Ethan just got a job at the coffee shop down the street, and we're taking him out to celebrate." A coffee shop job. They were celebrating a coffee shop job for my 28-year-old brother, who had never held steady employment, while my promotion to a leadership position warranted a distracted "sounds great." That night, I made a decision. I would buy a house, not just any house, but my dream house. And when my family saw what I had accomplished, they would finally understand. They would finally recognize my success. "Are you sure you're doing this for the right reasons?" Sophia asked when I shared my plan. "Buying a house is a huge commitment. It should be for you, not to impress your family." "It is for me," I insisted, even as I mentally pictured my mother's impressed expression when she walked through the front door. "But it wouldn't hurt if they finally acknowledged that I've done well for myself." Little did I know that my dream of family validation would soon collide with the harsh reality of lifelong patterns too ingrained to break with something as simple as a beautiful home. My house hunting journey. began on a rainy Saturday in January. Armed with a pre-approval letter and a detailed list of must-haves, I met with my realtor, a nonsense woman named Patricia, who specialized in Portland's competitive housing market. "The market is tough right now," Patricia warned as we sat in her office. "Inventory is low, and good properties move fast. You need to know exactly what you want and be prepared to act quickly." I nodded confidently. I had been preparing for this moment for years. I wanted a craftsman-style home with character. At least 3 bedrooms, a home office, and a backyard where I could plant a garden. Location was crucial, too. I wanted to be in one of Portland's established neighborhoods with good walkability. The first month was disheartening. We viewed 27 houses, and none felt right. Some were perfect on paper but lacked the warm feeling I was searching for. Others had the character I craved but needed more work than my budget allowed. 5 times, I submitted offers, only to be outbid by cash buyers or investors. Maybe I should lower my expectations, I told Sophia one evening after yet another rejected offer. "Don't settle," she encouraged. "This is your dream home. The right one will come along." In March, after 2 months of searching, Patricia called with excitement in her voice. "I have a house you need to see immediately," she said. "It just hit the market, and it checks all your boxes. We need to go today." The moment I stepped onto the porch of the 1920s Craftsman on Laurel Street, something clicked. The house wasn't perfect. The kitchen needed updating. The hardwood floors were scratched, and the backyard was overgrown. But beneath the wear and tear, I could see the bones of my dream home. Inside, sunlight streamed through original stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns across the living room. The built-in bookshelves flanking the fireplace seemed to be waiting for my collection of novels and technical manuals. The stairs creaked slightly as we ascended to the second floor, where 3 bedrooms and a small office space awaited. "The owners are motivated sellers," Patricia explained. "They inherited the property from their grandmother and want a quick sale." That night, I submitted an offer slightly above asking price, with a personal letter explaining why I loved the house. 2 anxious days later, Patricia called with the news. My offer had been accepted. The next 60 days became a blur of inspections, paperwork, and planning. The home inspection revealed issues with the electrical system and roof that needed immediate attention. My carefully calculated budget stretched thin as I negotiated repairs with the sellers. "Are you sure you can afford all this?" my father asked during one of our rare phone calls. "Home ownership is expensive. Maybe you should have started with a condo." "I can handle it," I assured him. Not mentioning that I had run the numbers countless times and created spreadsheets mapping out every expense. "I know what I'm doing." Closing day arrived with a mixture of terror and elation. As I signed my name dozens of times on the mortgage documents, reality set in. This beautiful, imperfect house was mine, all mine. The renovation process began the day after closing. I took 2 weeks of vacation time to focus on making the house livable before moving in. The kitchen came first. I replaced the outdated appliances with energy-efficient models, installed new countertops and painted the cabinets a soft blue-gray. Each night, exhausted from painting, cleaning, and coordinating contractors, I would sit on the porch with a glass of wine and imagine my future in this house. I pictured holiday gatherings in the dining room, lazy Sunday mornings reading by the fireplace, and summer evenings tending to the garden I planned to create in the backyard. Most of all, I imagined my family's reaction when they saw what I had accomplished. My mother's surprise as she explored the tastefully decorated rooms. My father's grudging approval of the solid investment I had made. Even Ethan's envy at what his big sister had achieved. Financial sacrifices mounted as the renovation continued. I depleted most of my savings, cut back on everything non-essential, and picked up freelance coding projects on weekends to cover unexpected expenses. When the original hardwood floors cost 3 times more to restore than I had budgeted, I ate ramen for 2 weeks straight to make up the difference. "You're going to burn yourself out," Sophia warned during one of her weekend visits to help with painting. "This house is becoming an obsession." "It's worth it," I insisted, stepping back to admire the freshly painted living room walls. "It's not just a house. It's proof that I made it despite everything." By the end of April, the major renovations were complete. I moved in during a rare sunny weekend with Sophia and a few colleagues helping to carry furniture and unpack boxes. As the moving truck pulled away and my friends departed, I stood alone in my living room, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes and the gentle creaking of my new home settling around me. That night, I sat on my porch swing and made a decision. It was time to share my achievement with my family. I would host a housewarming party, not just any party, but but the perfect gathering that would showcase my beautiful home and my success. The next day, I designed personalized invitations for each family member. For my parents, I included old photos of houses they had admired in magazines with a note saying, "Remember how you always loved craftsman homes? Now I have one, and I can't wait to show you." For Ethan, I wrote, "Excited to have you see my new place. The guest room has your name on it whenever you visit." I mailed the invitations 3 weeks before the planned party, following up with text messages to make sure everyone received them. My mother responded almost immediately, "How lovely, dear. We'll mark our calendars." For the first time in years, I allowed myself to hope that this milestone might finally bridge the gap between us as the date of my housewarming party approached. My excitement grew to nearly unbearable levels. I created detailed spreadsheets for the event, guest lists, menu, shopping lists, and a minute-by-minute schedule for the day of the party. Nothing would be left to chance. 2 weeks before the event, I began the deep cleaning process. Every surface in the house received attention. Baseboards were scrubbed, windows polished until they gleamed, light fixtures disassembled and cleaned piece by piece. I wanted the house to be perfect, a showcase of not just my success, but my attention to detail. You realize normal people don't clean the inside of their light fixtures for parties, right? Sophia joked as she helped me dust the crown molding in the dining room. "This isn't just any party," I reminded her. "This is the first time my family will see my house." The menu planning consumed my evenings. I researched each family member's favorite foods, determined to create a spread that would impress even my mother, who prided herself on her cooking. I decided on a mix of elegant finger foods and heartier options, with my father's favorite whiskey-glazed meatballs and my mother's beloved crab puffs as centerpieces. "Do you think Ethan still likes those chocolate raspberry brownies I used to make for his birthdays?" I asked my mother during one of our planning calls. "Oh, honey, you know your brother. He'll eat anything chocolate." She laughed. "He's so excited about seeing your house." That comment fueled my enthusiasm even further. Ethan was excited to see my house. Maybe this would be the turning point in our relationship, an opportunity to rebuild the sibling bond that had frayed over years of parental favoritism. A week before the party, I received a strange text from my cousin Rachel. "Looking forward to your party next Saturday." Although I'm confused because Ethan mentioned something about his place, too. My stomach tightened as I read the message. I called my mother immediately. "Oh, did Ethan not tell you?" she said, her voice casual. "He just moved into a new apartment. Nothing fancy, just a little one-bedroom in Hawthorne. He mentioned having some friends over that weekend, but I'm sure it won't conflict with your party." I swallowed my unease. Did he specifically schedule something for Saturday, the same day as my housewarming? "I don't think so," my mother assured me. "And anyway, we'll be at your place. We wouldn't miss it." Despite her reassurances, a familiar anxiety gnawed at me. I pushed it aside and focused on preparations. The shopping required multiple trips. I splurged on fine wines that complemented each dish, purchased new serving platters that matched my dining room color scheme, and even bought new guest towels for the bathroom. Each purchase was carefully considered, each item selected to contribute to the overall impression of tasteful success. 3 days before the party, I confirmed with everyone on the guest list. My parents reconfirmed their attendance, as did my 2 aunts, an uncle, 3 cousins, and several family friends who had known me since childhood. Ethan didn't respond to my confirmation text, but my mother assured me he would be there. "He's just busy with the new job and apartment," she explained. "You know how forgetful he can be about responding to messages." The day before the party, Sophia came over to help with final preparations. We arranged furniture to create conversation areas, set up the bar on the restored sideboard in the dining room, and prepared dishes that could be made ahead of time. "Are you nervous?" Sophia asked as we arranged a charcuterie board for refrigeration. "A little," I admitted. "I keep having this dream that they walk in, look around, and just say, 'Is this it?' Like they expected something more." "That's not going to happen," Sophia assured me. "This house is gorgeous, and you've done amazing work on it. They're going to be blown away." That night, I could barely sleep. I kept getting up to check things, making sure the guest soaps were perfectly aligned in the bathroom, adjusting the throw pillows on the couch, rearranging the books on the coffee table to create a more casual lived-in look. By morning, I was operating on a mixture of nervous energy and pure adrenaline. I woke at 5 a.m., unable to stay in bed any longer, and began the final preparations. I baked fresh rolls for the dinner, prepared dips, and arranged flowers delivered the previous day into carefully casual bouquets throughout the house. As noon approached, I took a shower and dressed in the outfit I had chosen weeks before. A casual but elegant blue dress that complemented my eyes and made me look successful without appearing to try too hard. Standing in front of the mirror, I practiced the house tour in my head one last time. I would start in the living room, pointing out the original features I had restored, then to the kitchen to showcase the renovation, followed by the dining room where we would enjoy the meal. Upstairs would come later, after everyone had eaten and relaxed at 1 p.m. I stood in my perfectly prepared living room and took a deep breath. The party was scheduled to begin at 2 p.m. in just 1 hour. My family would arrive, and all my hard work would finally pay off. They would see what I had accomplished. And for once, just this once, I would be the center of attention, the successful daughter, the homeowner, the one who made it. If only I had known that at that very moment, my family was gathering somewhere else entirely. At exactly 2 p.m., I positioned myself in the living room with a perfect view of the front walk through the bay window. The food was arranged artfully on the dining room table. Music played softly through the speakers I had installed throughout the house. And a bottle of champagne chilled in an ice bucket, ready to be opened when everyone arrived. By 2:15 p.m., no one had arrived. I checked my phone, expecting to see messages about traffic or parking difficulties, but there were none. I sent a casual text to my mother, "Everything's ready. Are you on your way?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, her response came through. "Running a bit behind. Start without us." I frowned at the message. Start without them. They were the guests of honor, the whole point of the party. Still, delays happened. I busied myself rearranging the cheese platter and checking the temperature of the hot dishes. Keeping warm in the oven by 2:45 p.m., my stomach had tied itself into knots. I called my mother, but the call went straight to voicemail. I tried my father with the same result. I sent another text. "Is everything okay? Should I push dinner back?" This time, my father responded. "Caught up with something. Might be quite late, so sorry." Caught up with something on the day of my housewarming. The day I had been planning for weeks that they had confirmed multiple times. I called my Aunt Linda, who had enthusiastically RSVP'd, yes, just days earlier. "Oh, Emily," she said, her voice tinged with what sounded like guilt. "I thought someone would have told you. We're actually at Ethan's new apartment. He decided to have a last-minute housewarming today, too. I assumed your party had been rescheduled." The room seemed to tilt around me. "No," I said, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. "My party was not rescheduled. It's happening right now." "The party you RSVP'd too." "I'm so sorry, sweetie," Aunt Linda said. "There seems to have been a miscommunication. Ethan said everyone was coming to his place instead, and your mother confirmed it. So we just assumed." I ended the call before she could finish. With shaking hands, I texted Sophia. "No one is coming. They're all at Ethan's." Sophia responded immediately. "What? I'm coming over right now." I sank onto my perfectly positioned sofa and stared at the elaborate spread of food that would now go uneaten, the champagne that would remain uncorked, the house that would remain all my planning, all my hope that this achievement would finally make my family see me, wasted. By the time Sophia arrived 30 minutes later, I had moved from shock to numbness. She found me sitting in the same spot, still staring at the untouched food. "What happened?" she demanded, sitting beside me and taking my cold hands in hers. "They all went to Ethan's instead," I said flatly. "He scheduled a housewarming for his new apartment on the same day as mine, and everyone chose to go there." "That can't be right," Sophia said. "There must be some misunderstanding. Did you call your mom?" "She's not answering. Neither is my dad." I pulled out my phone and opened Instagram, a sudden suspicion forming. Let's see if there's anything posted. There it was. My cousin Rachel had posted a story just 20 minutes earlier. The location tag read Ethan's new place. The video panned across a crowded apartment, where my entire family mingled. Drinks in hand. My mother stood in the center, her arm around Ethan, beaming with pride. My father was visible in the background, chatting animatedly with my uncle. As Sophia and I watched in stunned silence, more stories appeared. My aunt posted a picture of Ethan giving a toast. My father's friend Daniel checked in at the location with the caption, "Celebrating the next generation of homeowners." My mother posted a photo of Ethan's kitchen with the caption, "So proud of my boy's first apartment. #milestone achieved. #proud mom. Double quotes. The images kept coming, each one a fresh wound. Everyone I had invited, family, extended family, friends, was there at Ethan's apartment on the day of my housewarming. The housewarming they had RSVP'd to and confirmed multiple times. This was deliberate, I whispered, the realization dawning with sickening clarity. Ethan scheduled this on purpose, and they all chose him again. Sophia's face flushed with anger. This is beyond cruel. It's calculated. Did they think you wouldn't find out? That you'd just sit here alone and never know? I couldn't answer. The pain was too raw, too overwhelming. All those weeks of planning, all those years of hoping that my achievements would finally make me visible to my own family. All of it crumbled around me like the house of cards it had always been. We should eat something, Sophia said, finally breaking the heavy silence. You've prepared all this beautiful food. We shouldn't let it go to waste. I nodded mechanically, allowing her to lead me to the dining room. We filled plates with food I could no longer taste. Sophia opened the champagne, pouring generous glasses for us both. To your beautiful home, she said, raising her glass. Their loss, not yours. I tried to smile to match her attempt at salvaging the day, but my face felt frozen. We ate in silence, the carefully curated playlist creating an eerie soundtrack to my humiliation. As evening fell, I turned on the lights I had strategically placed to showcase the home's best features. The warm glow that I had imagined would impress my family now seemed to highlight the emptiness of the rooms. The absence of the validation I had so desperately sought. That's when my phone vibrated with a new message. My mother's name appeared on the screen, and the message sent ice through my veins. We need to talk now. My hands trembled as I stared at my mother's message. After hours of silence, after missing my party to attend Ethan's, now she wanted to talk. Are you going to respond? Sophia asked, peering over my shoulder at the phone. I don't know what to say, I admitted. Part of me wants to ignore her, but another part needs to understand how they could do this. Sophia's expression hardened. Let me tell you what happened. Your brother deliberately scheduled his housewarming on the same day as yours. Your family chose to go to his instead of yours. There's nothing to understand beyond that. Deep down, I knew she was right, but years of seeking approval made it impossible to simply walk away without an explanation. I typed a response. I'm at home. You know where my housewarming party was supposed to be. My mother didn't respond immediately. Instead, my phone began buzzing with notifications as more social media posts appeared from Ethan's event. Unable to stop myself, I opened each one, subjecting myself to fresh waves of pain with every image. There was a photo of my mother cutting a cake decorated with the words, "Congratulations on your new home." A cake that looked remarkably similar to the one sitting untouched in my refrigerator. Another post showed Ethan giving a tour of his apartment. A basic one-bedroom rental with standard appliances and beige walls, nothing like the lovingly restored craftsman I had poured my heart and savings into, yet the captions overflowed with praise. Such a great place, so impressive, what an achievement. Then came the post that broke me. My father, who rarely used social media, had shared a photo of himself, my mother, and Ethan standing in the apartment's small living room. The caption read, "Couldn't be prouder of my son today, taking this big step toward independence. #ProudDad. In all my years of achievements, honor roll, scholarships, promotions, leadership positions, my father had never once publicly declared himself proud of me. I need to see the rest," I whispered, more to myself than to Sophia. I navigated to Ethan's profile and began scrolling through the photos and videos from the day. There he was, looking smug as he accepted congratulations. There were my cousins, aunts, uncles, people who had enthusiastically RSVP'd to my event, all smiling and celebrating, as if my invitation had never existed. Most painful was a video where someone asked Ethan, "Didn't Emily have something today, too?" Ethan's response came with a dismissive wave of his hand. "She's always doing something to show off." This was the only weekend that worked for me to have people over. The only weekend. As if he hadn't deliberately chosen this exact date after seeing my invitations go out. My mother's voice came from off camera. "Let's not talk about that now. This is Ethan's day." Sophia gently took the phone from my hands. "That's enough. You're just torturing yourself." The tears I had been holding back finally broke free, not delicate, dignified tears, but ugly, body-shaking sobs that tore from deep within me. Years of disappointment, of being overlooked and undervalued, crashed over me in waves. "Why?" I gasped between sobs. "Why do they always choose him? What's wrong with me?" Sophia wrapped her arms around me, her own eyes glistening. "Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing. This is about them, not you." As my sobs gradually subsided, my phone buzzed again with another message from my mother. "I'm coming over. Be there in 20 minutes. You don't have to see her," Sophia said firmly. "Not tonight. Not when you're this vulnerable." I wiped my eyes, a strange calm settling over me. No, I think I do. I think it's time I heard whatever excuse they've concocted. Then I'm staying, Sophia declared. I shook my head. I appreciate that, but this is something I need to do alone. I've been avoiding this confrontation my entire life. Maybe it's time I stopped hiding from the truth about my family. Reluctantly, Sophia agreed to leave, but not before extracting a promise that I would call her the moment my mother left, regardless of the hour. After Sophia's departure, I moved mechanically through the house, clearing away the remnants of the party that never happened. I boxed up untouched food, corked the open wine bottles, and dimmed the carefully positioned lights. By the time the doorbell rang at 11:30 p.m., my beautiful home had been returned to its everyday state, as if the housewarming had never been planned at all. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door to find my mother standing on my porch. Her expression was a mixture of defiance and rehearsed concern. "Emily," she said, as if we had planned this late-night visit, "your house is certainly impressive." The carefully chosen word hung between us, not beautiful, not lovely, but impressive, as if my home were an opponent to be warily respected, rather than an achievement to be celebrated. I stepped back silently, allowing her to enter. She moved into my living room, her eyes darting around, cataloging details. I could almost see her mental calculations of cost and value. "Well," she said finally, "you certainly didn't hold back, did you? This must have cost a fortune." "Why are you here, Mom?" I asked, too emotionally drained for small talk. She sank onto my sofa, arranging her face into an expression of maternal concern. "I wanted to explain about today. There seems to have been a miscommunication." "A miscommunication?" I repeated flatly. "You mean how everyone who are SVP'd to my party ended up at Ethan's instead? That kind of miscommunication. Ethan didn't realize your party was today when he planned his," she began, the excuse sounding rehearsed, "and once people had committed to his event, it would have been rude to cancel." "Rude," I echoed. "Unlike committing to my event and then not showing up without so much as a phone call, that kind of rude." My mother's facade of concern slipped, revealing a flash of irritation. "Don't take that tone with me, Emily. We're trying to support both our children." "Both?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "When have you ever supported me equally? Name one time, Mom. One single time when Ethan wasn't the priority." "That's not fair," she protested. "You've always been so capable, so independent. Ethan needs more support." "He's 28 years old," I exclaimed. "When does he stop needing more support than me? When do I get to matter, too?" My mother's expression hardened. "Is that what this house is about? Making yourself matter? Because it feels like showing off. Emily, it feels like you're trying to make the rest of us feel bad about where we live." The accusation struck me speechless. My house, my dream, my achievement, my safe space reduced to a competitive ploy in her eyes. "Your father and I live in the same house we've had for 30 years, she continued. "Ethan's just getting started in a modest apartment, and here you are in this showcase, rubbing your success in everyone's faces." "I bought this house for me," I said quietly, "because I love it, because I worked hard for it, not to make anyone feel bad." "Well, that's not how Ethan sees it. He thinks you deliberately bought this place right when he was finally getting his own apartment to overshadow his achievement." I stared at her, unable to process the twisted logic. "I've been saving for this house for years. I had no idea Ethan was even looking for an apartment until you mentioned it last week." "That's not the point," my mother said dismissively. "The point is, your brother feels undermined, and instead of supporting him, you're making everything about you and your house." In that moment, something shifted inside me. A lifetime of seeking approval from people determined not to give it suddenly seemed like the most pointless endeavor imaginable. "Get out," I said quietly. "Excuse me." My mother's eyes widened. "Get out of my house," I repeated, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside me. "I didn't buy this house to impress you or to compete with Ethan. I bought it because I love it, and I earned it, and I don't need to justify that to anyone, especially not to people who couldn't even bother to show up when they promised they would." My mother rose from the sofa, her face flushed with anger. "If that's how you want to be, fine, but don't expect us to coddle your tantrum. When you're ready to apologize for your attitude and show some support for your brother's milestone, we'll be waiting." She walked to the door, pausing with her hand on the knob. "And Emily, maybe think about why you're really so upset. Is it because we missed your party? Or because for once, just once, the attention was on Ethan instead of you?" The door closed behind her before I could respond, before I could point out the absurdity of her accusation. For once, when had the attention ever been on me? I stood in my empty living room, surrounded by the house I had worked so hard for, feeling more alone than I ever had in my life. But beneath the pain and rejection, something else stirred a sense of clarity. Of seeing my family's dynamics without illusion, for perhaps the first time. My phone pinged with a final text from my mother. "When you're ready to be part of this family again, you know where to find us." Part of this family. As if that had ever truly been an option, on equal terms. I sank onto my sofa, emotionally exhausted but strangely calm. Perhaps this devastating day had given me something valuable after all. The freedom to stop chasing approval I would never receive. The house felt different the next morning. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns across the hardwood floors. Just as it had every morning since I moved in. The coffee maker burbled in the kitchen, filling the air with its familiar aroma. Physically, nothing had changed. Yet emotionally, everything had. I had spent the night alternating between tears and strange moments of clarity. After my mother left, I called Sophia as promised, recounting the confrontation in stunned disbelief. "She blamed you," Sophia had exclaimed, "after what they did. That's gaslighting, pure and simple." The term resonated with me. Illuminating patterns I had accepted as normal throughout my life. How many times had my legitimate feelings been dismissed as overreactions? How often had reasonable expectations been reframed as demanding or selfish? As I sipped my morning coffee on the porch swing, my phone began buzzing with text messages. My father sent a message, clearly dictated by my mother. "We're disappointed in how you spoke to your mother last night. Family supports each other. Ethan needs our encouragement right now." My Aunt Linda texted, "Hope you're feeling better today, honey. Family gatherings can get complicated. Let's have lunch soon and catch up." My cousin Rachel wrote, "So sorry about the confusion yesterday. Your house looks amazing from the photos online. Can I still come see it sometime?" The photos online. I frowned, opening my real estate app to find that, yes, the listing photos were still visible. My cousin hadn't even bothered to ask me for pictures of my renovated home. She had looked up the original listing photos from months ago. The messages continued throughout the morning, each one carefully avoiding any direct acknowledgement of what had actually happened. No one apologized for missing my party. No one mentioned Ethan's deliberate scheduling conflict. Everyone seemed determined to maintain the fiction that it had all been an unfortunate miscommunication rather than a calculated exclusion. Around noon, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find my father standing awkwardly on the porch, hands shoved in his pockets. "Your mother doesn't know I'm here," he said by way of greeting. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside silently, allowing him to enter. Unlike my mother, who had immediately begun evaluating and judging, my father seemed genuinely interested in the house. He ran his hand appreciatively along the restored banister, nodded at the original built-ins, and smiled at the kitchen renovation. "You did good, Emily," he said finally. "Really good. This place suits you." The simple acknowledgement I had craved for so long nearly brought fresh tears to my eyes. But it was too little, too late. "Why are you here, Dad?" I asked, crossing my arms protectively over my chest. He sighed heavily, suddenly looking older than his 61 years. "To explain some things, and maybe to apologize. Though I'm not sure you're ready to hear it." "Try me," I said, gesturing toward the kitchen table. We sat across from each other, the polished wood surface between us like a neutral zone in contested territory. "Your mother isn't entirely wrong about Ethan," he began carefully. "He has struggled in ways you haven't. Because you and Mom never made him struggle," I countered. "You cleared every obstacle from his path while I had to navigate my own." My father winced. "That's more accurate than I'd like to admit. We did Ethan no favors by coddling him, but that's not what I came to talk about." He took a deep breath. "Ethan knew exactly what he was doing when he scheduled his housewarming yesterday. He saw your invitations when he was at our house. He deliberately chose the same day. Though I had suspected as much, hearing the confirmation still stung. And you let him." "We did," my father acknowledged, unable to meet my eyes. "Your mother thought it would be fine, that people could attend both events, but Ethan made it clear to everyone that they needed to choose. That if people went to your party first or split their time, he would see it as a betrayal." "And nobody thought to mention this to me?" I asked incredulously. "Nobody thought I deserved to know that my own brother was sabotaging my housewarming." "Your mother thought it would create unnecessary drama. She still believes you two can work things out if we just keep the peace." I laughed bitterly. "Keep the peace by letting Ethan walk all over me. That's been the family policy my entire life." "Not your entire life," my father protested weakly. There were times, name one, I challenged. One time when my needs or feelings were prioritized over Ethan's. He fell silent, unable to produce a single example. That's what I thought, I said quietly. There's more, my father continued after a moment. Something your mother didn't tell you last night. Ethan has been resentful of your success for years, your promotion, this house. He sees it all as a personal attack. A personal attack, I repeated, stunned. How is my success an attack on him? He feels inadequate by comparison. Every achievement of yours highlights what he hasn't accomplished. My father ran a hand through his thinning hair. Your mother and we've enabled this perspective. We've spent so many years trying to boost his confidence that we've reinforced the idea that your success somehow diminishes his worth. That's twisted, I whispered. It is, my father agreed, surprising me. And last night, after your mother came home from your place, I finally said so. We had quite an argument about it. You argued with Mom about this. In 35 years of marriage, I had rarely seen my parents disagree about anything, especially matters concerning Ethan. I did. I told her we'd been unfair to you your entire life, that what happened yesterday was cruel and deliberate, not a miscommunication, that we've created this situation by treating you both so differently. He looked up, meeting my eyes directly. I told her I was ashamed of how we've behaved as parents. I sat in stunned silence, unable to process this unexpected alliance. Your mother didn't take it well, he continued. She's convinced that you've always been stronger, more capable, less needy, that Ethan deserves the extra attention and support because life is harder for him. Life is harder for him because you and Mom never let him develop resilience, I said. You protected him from every consequence, every failure. I know, my father said simply. I see that now. Too late, probably, but I see it. What does this mean going forward? I asked, unwilling to get my hopes up that anything would actually change. I don't know, he admitted. Your mother is still angry about how you spoke to her last night. Ethan is playing the victim, telling everyone you're trying to upstage his first apartment with your mansion. He gestured around the modest 3-bedroom house that was hardly a mansion by any definition. And you, I pressed, where do you stand in all this? My father's eyes met mine, regret evident in their depths. I stand ashamed of my failure to be the father you deserved. I let your mother's parenting approach dominate because it was easier than challenging it. I told myself you were doing fine without my advocacy, that you were strong enough to handle the inequity. His honesty was both healing and painful. I was a child, Dad. I needed my parents to see me, to value me just as much as Ethan did. I know that now, he said softly. I'm sorry, Emily, truly sorry. We sat in silence for several minutes, the weight of decades of family dysfunction hanging between us. What happens now? I finally asked. That depends partly on you, my father replied. Your mother expects an apology for how you spoke to her. Ethan is nursing his grievances and will likely continue to see you as a threat to his fragile self-image, and if I refuse to apologize, if I'm not willing to keep playing this dysfunctional game anymore. My father nodded, as if he had expected this question. Then there will be tension. Your mother may keep her distance for a while. Ethan will likely continue to frame you as the villain in his narrative. And you, I'll be here, he said simply. It's time I started being your father, too, not just Ethan's, whatever that looks like going forward. The promise was small but significant. The first time in my life that a parent had prioritized their relationship with me independent of Ethan's needs and feelings. As my father prepared to leave an hour later, he paused in the entryway, looking around the home I had created. You know, your grandfather would have loved this place, he said unexpectedly. He was a craftsman himself, worked with his hands his whole life. He would have appreciated the care you've put into restoring this house. The mention of my grandfather, who had died when I was 9, brought a lump to my throat. He had been the one family member who had seemed to see me clearly, who had celebrated my achievements without qualification or comparison. I wish he could have seen it, I said softly. He would have been proud of you, my father said. And I am too, Emily. I'm proud of what you've accomplished, what you've built, not just this house, but your life, your career, the person you've become. Despite our failures as parents, as he stepped onto the porch, he turned back one last time. Give your mother time. She's not ready to see how wrong we've been, but maybe someday. In the meantime, live your life for you, not for our approval. You've never needed it, even though you deserved it. After he left, I sat on my porch swing, processing the conversation. For the first time, I had received acknowledgement of the family dynamics that had shaped my life. It wasn't a complete resolution, and it certainly didn't undo decades of hurt. But it was a beginning, a crack in the foundation of denial that had characterized my family's approach to our dysfunction. That evening, I received a text from Ethan, the first direct communication from him in weeks. "Hope you're happy. Dad's barely speaking to Mom because of your drama." I stared at the message, recognizing the attempt to pull me back into the familiar pattern of guilt and responsibility for family harmony. In the past, I would have apologized, smoothed things over, accepted blame to restore peace. Instead, I turned off my phone and went to bed in my beautiful house, the house I had chosen, restored, and made my own, the house that represented not just my financial success, but my emotional independence from a family system that had never served me well. For the first time in my life, one chose myself over the possibility of their approval, and surprisingly, it felt like freedom. The week following the confrontation with my parents brought a strange mixture of grief and liberation. I moved through my days with a persistent ache in my chest. The pain of finally acknowledging the depth of my family's dysfunction and my place within it. Yet alongside that pain ran a current of something new. Authentic freedom from the exhausting pursuit of approval I would never receive. 3 days after my father's visit, I called a therapist whose name Sophia had given me months earlier. "I should have done this years ago," I told Dr. Patricia Hayes during our first session, but I kept believing that if I just achieved enough, my family would finally see me. Dr. Hayes nodded compassionately. "That's a common pattern for children in families with significant favoritism. You become an achievement machine, constantly striving to earn the love and recognition that should have been freely given." Over the following weeks, our sessions became a cornerstone of my healing process. We explored the dynamics that had shaped my childhood, my relationship with Ethan, and the coping mechanisms I had developed to deal with chronic emotional neglect. "What you're describing is a form of family scapegoating," Dr. Hayes explained during one particularly illuminating session. "Your brother was established as the golden child who could do no wrong, while you became the family member who was expected to accommodate, achieve independently, and never need support." "But why?" I asked, the question that had haunted me my entire life. "Why him and not me?" "Often, it has nothing to do with the children themselves," she explained. "It frequently stems from the parents' own unresolved issues. Your mother may see something in Ethan that reminds her of herself or represents something she values or fears losing. Similarly, she may see something in you that triggers insecurity or even envy." This perspective helped me begin to depersonalize the rejection I had experienced. Perhaps it wasn't that I was fundamentally unlovable or unworthy of attention. Rather, I had been cast in a role that said more about my parents' psychological needs than about my inherent value. As May turned to June, I immersed myself in making my house truly mine. I planted the garden I had dreamed of, turning the overgrown backyard into a tranquil space with native plants, a small vegetable patch, and a cozy seating area. Each weekend, I tackled a new project, building bookshelves for my growing collection, refinishing a vintage desk for my home office, learning basic plumbing to fix a persistent leak in the upstairs bathroom. "You're nesting," Sophia observed one Saturday as she helped me hang curtains in the guest bedroom. "Creating your sanctuary? Is that weird?" I asked, stepping back to assess our work. "Focusing so much on my house." "Not at all," she assured me. "You're literally building the life you want on your terms. It's beautiful to watch." 3 weeks after the failed housewarming, I decided to reclaim the event for myself. I sent invitations to my chosen family friends, colleagues, and neighbors who had shown me genuine support and care. The theme wasn't a traditional housewarming, but a home celebration, acknowledging that a house becomes a home through the community that fills it. The evening of the gathering arrived with perfect June weather, allowing us to spill from the house into the newly landscaped backyard. 20 people filled my home with laughter, conversation, and genuine warmth. My colleague David brought his famous homemade bread. My neighbor Margaret arrived with a cutting from her prized hydrangea plant. Sophia's partner, Alex, mixed cocktails in the kitchen, creating a signature drink he dubbed Emily's Haven. To Emily, Sophia toasted as we gathered in the living room. And to the beautiful home she's created, not just this stunning house, but the life she's built and the community she's gathered. We're the lucky ones who get to be part of it. As glasses clinked and approving murmurs rippled through the room, I felt a weight lift that I hadn't even realized I was still carrying. This was what celebration should feel like: genuine, warm, uncomplicated by decades of family baggage. Later that evening, as the party wound down and guests began to depart, my neighbor Robert, a retired architect, pulled me aside. "I hope this isn't overstepping," he said. But I wanted you to know that I've been watching the work you've done on this house, the care you've taken with the restoration, the thoughtful updates that respect the original character. It's exceptional. This house is lucky to have found you." His words brought unexpected tears to my eyes. "Thank you," I managed. "That means a lot. Especially from someone who understands craftsmanship." "Craftsmanship recognizes craftsmanship," he said simply. "You've given this old place new life. That's something special." As July approached, I continued my therapy sessions while gradually establishing new boundaries with my family. My mother had remained distant, sending occasional text messages that carefully avoided any meaningful accountability. Ethan continued his pattern of passive-aggressive comments, particularly on social media, where he could maintain the narrative of being the victim of his show-off sister. My father, true to his word, made efforts to connect independently of my mother and brother. He visited twice more, each time showing genuine interest in my house projects and my life. During his third visit, he brought a small wooden box. "This was your grandfather's," he explained, placing it in my hands. "His watch case. I found it when cleaning out the attic, and thought you might like to have it." The simple cedar box, worn smooth by decades of handling, represented a tangible connection to the one family member who had seen me clearly. I placed it on my bedside table, a daily reminder that being truly seen by those who matter is more important than seeking validation from those unwilling to provide it. In early August, nearly 3 months after the housewarming disaster, I received an unexpected call from my mother. Our communication had been limited to curt text messages, with her maintaining that I owed her an apology, and me unwilling to accept blame for a situation I hadn't created. "I drove by your house yesterday," she said without preamble, when I answered. "The garden looks nice." "Thank you," I replied, uncertain where this conversation was heading. A long pause followed before she continued. "Your father thinks I've been unfair to you, that we've both been unfair for a long time." I remained silent, unwilling to make this conversation easier for her. "I'm not good at this, Emily," she admitted, a rare moment of vulnerability in her voice. "I've always found it easier to connect with Ethan. His needs were always so obvious, so loud. You were so self-sufficient that I told myself you didn't need me as much." "I did need you, Mom," I said quietly. "I just learned not to show it because it never made a difference." Another lengthy silence followed. "I'm beginning to understand that," she finally said. "I'm not promising overnight change. I've been this way for 59 years. But I am trying to see things differently." It wasn't an apology. Not really. But it was perhaps the most honest conversation we had ever had about our relationship. "Would you be open to me visiting sometime?" she asked tentatively. "To see your house properly. Just me, not Ethan or your father." The request surprised me. "I'd be open to that," I said cautiously, "but I need you to understand that I'm not going to pretend everything is fine between us. We have a lot of history to work through." "I know," she acknowledged. "Maybe seeing the life you've built for yourself will help me understand you better." We scheduled a visit for the following weekend, and I spent the intervening days in a mixture of hope and apprehension. I didn't expect a miraculous transformation in our relationship, but perhaps this was a small step toward something healthier. When the day arrived, I was surprised to find myself nervous. I had hosted colleagues, friends, and neighbors without a second thought. But the prospect of my mother's visit left my stomach in knots. Would she find things to criticize? Would she make comparisons to Ethan's apartment? Would she truly see my home and, by extension, me for the first time? She arrived promptly at 11 a.m., dressed more casually than her usual, carefully coordinated outfits. As I welcomed her inside, I noticed her really looking at the house for the first time, taking in details she had overlooked or dismissed during her brief visit the night of the confrontation. "You've done amazing work here," she said as I showed her the kitchen renovation. "Your father mentioned you did some of this yourself, the demolition and painting." "I did," I confirmed. "I had professionals handle the electrical and plumbing." "You always were good with your hands," she observed. "Remember those detailed models you used to build? The dollhouse you made from scratch when you were 12. The fact that she remembered this childhood interest surprised me. I had assumed my hobbies and passions had registered as little more than background noise in a household focused on Ethan's needs. As we moved through the house, room by room, something shifted subtly between us. My mother asked questions about my choices, why this paint color, how I had restored the original windows, where I had found the vintage light fixtures, for perhaps the first time in my adult life. She seemed genuinely interested in understanding my perspective rather than imposing her own. In the backyard garden, she paused by the vegetable beds I had built. Your grandmother would have loved this, she said unexpectedly. She always said you can tell a lot about a person by how they tend their garden. What would she say about mine? I asked, curious about this connection to a grandmother who had died before I was born. My mother surveyed the neat rows of tomatoes, the trellised cucumbers, the herbs arranged by height and sun requirements. She would say you're methodical but not rigid, that you understand the balance between control and allowing things to grow in their own way. She touched a tomato plant gently. She would approve. The simple statement felt like a gift, a connection to family history that acknowledged my place within it. As our visit concluded, my mother paused in the entryway. I haven't been a good mother to you, Emily, she said, the words clearly difficult for her. I've favored Ethan. I've dismissed your needs. I've failed to celebrate your achievements the way they deserved. I stood silent, stunned by the unexpected acknowledgement. I can't promise I'll change overnight, she continued. Old habits and perceptions are deeply ingrained, but I am trying to see more clearly now, to understand how my choices have hurt you. It wasn't everything, but it was something, a beginning rather than an ending. Thank you for saying that, I replied. I'm not ready to pretend everything is fine between us. We have years of patterns to work through, but I'm willing to try if you are. She nodded, reaching out to squeeze my hand briefly before departing. It was a small gesture, but in a family where physical affection had rarely been directed my way, it felt significant. That evening, sitting on my porch swing and watching the sunset paint my garden in golden light, I reflected on the journey of the past 4 months, from the devastation of the empty housewarming to the beginning of healing and authentic connection. I had traversed a landscape of pain, revelation, and ultimately growth. My house had become more than just a physical structure or a symbol of achievement. It had become the container for my healing, the space where I had learned to value myself independently of family validation. Within these walls, I had begun to dismantle lifelong patterns of seeking approval and build new patterns of self-worth and authentic connection. The path forward with my family remained uncertain. My mother's visit represented a potential turning point, but decades of dysfunction couldn't be resolved in a single conversation. Ethan remained entrenched in his narrative of victim. My father was trying, in his way, to make amends for years of emotional absence. Yet, regardless of how those relationships evolved, I had found a fundamental truth. My value wasn't determined by their ability to see it. My home, my achievements, my capacity for connection and growth, these belonged to me, not as bargaining chips for family approval, but as expressions of who I was and who I was becoming. As darkness fell and stars appeared above my little piece of the world, I felt a profound sense of peace. The house I had bought, restored, and made my own had become more than a dream fulfilled. It had become the foundation for a new chapter, one written on my terms, filled with people who genuinely saw and valued me, and built on the understanding that true home isn't just where you live, but how you live. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who couldn't see your worth? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone else feeling invisible in their own family. And if you found something valuable in my journey, please like this video, subscribe to the channel for more stories of healing and growth, and share with someone who might need to hear that they're not alone. Thank you for being part of my chosen family here. Remember, sometimes the most courageous thing we can do is create a home within ourselves where we are truly seen and valued.